This is perhaps one of the most famous objects in the Victorian Albert Museum's Indian collection. It's known as the Sanchi torso, because it was discovered at Sanchi, the famous Buddhist site, which has includes the Great Stupa, and which is at the center of the area around which we found, I showed you the reliquaries which were excavated in the life of the Buddha gallery. So the Sanchi torso has been admired greatly by art historians for its very, very graceful and subtle pose. It is in the form of Srivanga, the thrice-bent posture, but art historians have greatly admired the way that volumes are carefully balanced around a central line and the extreme gracefulness of the figure. The contrast between the soft, gentle, sensuous modelling of flesh around the navel with the hardly detailed carving of the girdle. So in the girdle at this very, you see these detailed two-dimensional depictions of straws and plants and flowers. At the centre, a little lion's head, a Kenti Mokka, a face of glory, spewing forth these other parts of the girdle. This on, this necklace with its flowers and some shades of bells around it, and across his chest, the black skin with its hooves tied in these knots on the centre. And at the very top, fold to the neck, a sign of beauty, seen figures. So like the previous fish, we can say that it's a Bodhisattva. But even when it was first discovered, people didn't know that it was a Bodhisattva. It was originally thought to have been a figure of the Buddha. And there was a lot of confusion because in the earliest photographs of it was shown propped up against a pillar. And people who saw it thought that it had been holding the pillar, and that this figure had then been built on the pillar, which is quite wrong. That we'll see shortly how it would have been arranged, would have been positioned. They also thought when it was acquired that it was a memorial list belonging to the period of the great Emperor Ashoka, which was a great supporter of Buddhism. So they dated it to the 3rd century BC. So all these things, this thinking has changed with scholarship over the years. So eventually, people realised that because of the princely clothing, they represented a Bodhisattva rather than a Buddha figure. And the dating of the figure went back to a more realistic time. It wasn't really until 1917 when the keeper of the Victorian Albert Museum's Indian department was visiting the site of Sanchi that he made a discovery that enabled him to have a much deeper understanding of this figure in its ritual context. So in a warehouse in Sanchi, we found 2 fragments of carvings which he recognized to be those of the Bodhisattva. And the Bodhisattva was eventually, he realized that it was the companion piece, this piece, because it was of the same sandstone. They had almost identical carvings, flowers, alternating round flowers with diamond-shaped flowers. So he realized that this was a piece that belonged to this piece. And due to the details of the remains, just a scar of carving of the flower, he was able to identify it as Karma and Maitreya, and to realize that it would have been a pair of Bodhisattvas. And that if that was Maitreya, then this one would surely be Avalokiteshvara, which confers the identification, which is suggestive but not confirmed by the black skin that he went. This the black skin from species that the meditation event. So Irwin knew now that it was one of a pair of Bodhisattvas. This had been found in the middle of the Sanchi site, completely removed from any temple context. But he worked out that because of the similar flowers on the center of a large central seated meditating Buddha, Temple 45 Sanchi, that the 2 Bodhisattvas must have eventually flanked this great Buddha. So there would have been a triad with the 2 Bodhisattvas flanking this large central bed-based figure of the Buddha. So this was a complete revolution in the understanding of this figure in its original context. So he now knew that it was at Avalokiteshvara. Because of the stylistic dating of these other figures, he was able to bring the deity later to about 900 CE. So we now have a very different understanding of this figure. And I think again it's an example of how art history can, over a very long period of time, change our understanding of some of the most important work in art and literature. one of the things that they're going to find is the way that these features, the flowers and bells at this central for this entrance, recede sides which you get back, giving it a sort of perspectival impression. So really very sophisticated piece to start, Joe.